Hello, this is going to be a really quick video on how to diagnose any rattling inside of a 2x2, in this case, the regular MGC 2x2. So when you hear any type of rattling, there's multiple things that could be happening. The most common thing that could happen is a loose magnet, and usually that sounds a little bit more metallic, and it's a very hard click. But usually if you shake around the cube and there's no noise, that means that it's usually not a magnet, because that magnet is sticking to another magnet and won't make any noise when you're just shaking the puzzle when it is together. In this case, there's nothing absolutely wrong with this puzzle, but just to describe the issue. And we can go ahead and check for those. Another case is with some split piece designs. When they're putting the pieces together, sometimes a little bit of plastic from the mold will end up inside the piece, causing some rattling. Now that, because it's usually plastic, if you shake around the cube, you might hear some rattling. So usually these are a little bit more subdued, but it's there. It's probably a really tiny piece of plastic, and if it's not affecting performance, it's going to be usually inside of one of the pieces. If it does affect performance, it's usually going to be inside of the core, or it's rubbing against something weird. So let's go ahead and try to diagnose which one you have. So if it's a loose magnet, the procedure is going to be the same as with a just regular rattling. And the first thing that we would want to do here is just take apart the entire puzzle. Now, there are several ways to take apart the puzzle. The easiest way is basically just take one of your sides, unscrew it completely, take apart the entire thing. So in this case, we would want to go and start with the white side, because this piece is the anchor piece. So the anchor piece is the one that's connected directly onto the core to prevent misalignments in a 2x2. It's also the one that you don't want to twist or try to pull out. So to take apart a 2x2, you always want to go ahead and loosen up all the sides. In this case, I'm going to loosen it all the way so it just falls apart. And I'm just going to move this screw out of the way because I don't want to get mixed up with the hardware from this cube. So take out the screw, the spring. There should be a washer in there as well. Usually that doesn't fall out. So from here, because it's nice and loose now, because we've taken apart the screw, we can go ahead and actually start removing parts from the puzzle and take apart the entire puzzle completely. So here we saw that washer come out. This is part of the center. Just make sure that it stays in with the rest. Okay. So you'll notice this one's a little bit stiff on here because that's one of the anchored edges. So you can see that there's a little tooth there that kind of grips onto the center piece. Then that will help misalign. And we'll make sure to put it back properly once we do the assembly process. So with the entire cube kind of falling apart, we can kind of go ahead and inspect the pieces that we have just in front of us and make sure that there's no foreign debris or anything of that sort that has ended up inside of just the core part of the puzzle. So what we want to see is 12 individual edges, just like you would on a 3x3. So here I have 11 plus 1. We have our center pieces, should be 6. There's 6. And then we have our actual corner pieces that we want to inspect real quick. So if there's any type of foreign debris inside, that would have been really obvious just from this initial disassembly, and then we can just put it back together without that foreign debris, and it should just go back in there, and then there's no more rattling involved. Next, we want to go ahead and actually check if there's any loose magnets. Now we can do that easily by going ahead and taking out that screw that we just took out and going up against the corners over here and see if there's any type of attraction, right? So there should be multiple points of attraction here and here. So there's one right here. You can see how that's kind of attracting to this corner right here. There's 2 magnets here, so there's the other one right there. Oops. I'll just put that aside. There's one right here. So we know that these two-thirds are good. We want to go over here, magnet there, and then over here, another magnet there, so that's good. Magnet here, magnet there. So we know that all the magnets on here is good. But let's say that, let's say like the one on this orange, for example, there's nothing sticking there, right? So that means that there is a dislodged magnet. What you can do for these split piece designs is go ahead and just try to split it carefully apart like that. Inspect that the magnets are in fact inside of the puzzle. Now, usually if it's a really harsh, again, metallic, really clacky when you're solving, one of the magnets has come off. And then we can look inside and see the other magnets in there are good as well. And so for this piece, it's already all good. So let's say we've taken it apart, right? It's not a magnet issue whatsoever. We didn't have to split anything apart because the magnets are attracting to all 6 magnets per corner, but there's still some rattling. Just shake around each one of these pieces. And if there's any type of rattling in any one of these pieces, that's usually an indication that there's some debris inside, or it could be just a magnet that's about to fall out. So let's say that this piece right here was the one that is rattling. What we would want to do is go ahead and split apart the entire corner and see if there's any type of little bits of plastic inside of these thirds. So you can see that there's a lot of space in between here. So maybe a little bit of that plastic from the molding ended up inside, and that's causing the rattling noises. And usually they will look like they're completely out of place and definitely not part of the puzzle. So that's how you would kind of look for any rattling issues with an MGC 2x2. So once we've removed the object or anything that's causing the rattling, or we fix that magnet, what we need to do now is put the piece back together. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start putting this together. So if you're not sure about which piece, which third goes to what, you can go grab yourself another cube like this, and then just make sure that we're kind of putting it together properly. So here we have the blue, we matched up with the blue. To its right is orange, like that, and on the top is white, and then we're just kind of following this cube right here. And we want to make sure that all of these little tiny pieces, like this has a flap here that goes into that slot there, flap here that goes into the slot there, they're all slotting together properly like that. And we want to make sure that that center flap is going into that center slot, and we're just going to give it a small push together. Now if it requires a lot of force, don't force it, just take it out again, realign it, make sure that everything's going in there, because what could happen is you could break the stock. If you break the stock, then the piece is compromised and you're going to have to do something to fix that. So we've taken out the foreign debris, fixed the magnet, whatever. It's time to put together the 2x2. Now I have a tutorial on how to put together a 2x2 somewhere on this channel as well, but I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick. And to kind of speed things along, I'll just go ahead and explain what I'm doing while I put it together. So here we have our center, our screw, our spring. We're putting it through the center piece again and then rescrewing it back onto the core here. Now I don't want to screw it in all the way just yet because we need a little bit of play to put the cube back together. So now out of your 12 centers, there should be 3 that look completely different. So here's what a regular center or edge piece would look like. Out of the 12 edge pieces, there should be 3 that look different. So here's a regular edge. You see how there's no little teeth on the sides? And let's see if we can find one with the teeth on the sides real quick. There should be 3 of those. Here's one. So here we have little teeth on the side. So these are the hooked edges. They hook around the center pieces at this one right here. So it doesn't move and will prevent misalignments. These little teeth will go through those little slots right here on each one of the center pieces. And basically what that will do is prevent one corner from turning with the rest of the puzzle, preventing misalignments. Now when we're putting this back together, we want to make sure that those 3 edges are perpendicular to each other. So this one goes here and then it would go here, for example. So what I like to do first is we're going to take one of the ones with the teeth. If let's say this one also came out, right? So say for example, we took that out. We're going to go ahead and put the one with the teeth. We're going to try to slot it in here like that. And then this one, we're going to slot in like that. If you're having trouble, loosen the sides. It'll be a lot easier. It'll save you some headaches. We're going to put the other one right next to it, right on this side, repeating that process like that and like that. So this one's a little bit tight. I don't want to force it. Approaching it from an angle works. From here, before we put in the third one, we want to go ahead and put in a corner. In this case, I like doing the one with the sticker, but if you don't have a sticker, that's no problem. This is just for your reference so you don't accidentally twist it in the future. So I know not to accidentally twist the white, orange, blue, because if you twist it, you're going to break it because it's fixed. The other ones are a little bit more flexible because they don't have a fixed point. So it's still not suggested you twist corners randomly on a 2x2. This one's a little bit trickier because now we have a little bit less play now that we have that corner in place. We are going to go ahead and try to just slip that underneath one side at a time. So that one, this one should be loosened up a little bit like that, and we should be able to just push that in like this until we see that tooth click into place like that. From here, we kind of assemble it like a regular 3x3. We put in an edge right here, and we put in a corner like that. And you can always just assemble it in the solid position to kind of save you some headaches. In my case, as long as one side is the same or opposite, the cube is solvable for a 2x2. So I'm just gonna make this entire side blue, for example, and then the other side green. So here we put in the corner with that edge. So you see how that's popping out on the other side. We just want to hold that together like that. Put this edge in like that. And then we're just going to repeat the process. So right now blue is facing downwards. So I want to make sure that all of the blues are facing down once I put the corners in. So here's one with blue. Just want to make sure that's facing down. Here's another one with blue. Make sure that's facing down like that. Another internal edge, another internal edge. You see how the cube is moving around? We just want to make sure that that's firmly in place. Here, we're going to put in one edge, which I did. This is extra loose right now, so that should have been easy. We want to make sure green is all facing up properly. So put green up like that, green up like that. Put an edge right next to a corner. You can do that at a slight angle, get a little bit more wiggle room. And you don't want to do it over that fixed corner because that has zero wiggle room, whereas the other ones are not fixed, so you have a lot of wiggle room. So here, like that, like that. And if you're having trouble, make sure to loosen those center pieces. And then from here, I'm just going to spread this apart, take our last edge piece, put it in between there, retighten the puzzle, making sure that the tensions are back. So that one's pretty good. I know this one is the side that we loosened up a lot. Okay, that one's fine, that one's fine, that one's fine. So make sure that's all functional. And from here, just make sure that it is solvable. So we just want to go ahead and solve this real quick. And that's how you would try to find that rattling noise. Usually there's just a little piece of plastic inside one of the pieces or just inside of the core. By taking it apart completely and putting it back together, you should be able to find that issue. Hope that helps.